Welcome to my channel. Today, I want to share a chilling story that happened to me. It's a tale of an old woman with mysterious powers and the dark events that unfolded in a remote village. This is my story and my experience. I first heard about the old woman from the villagers. She lived on the outskirts of our remote village, in a small, decrepit house that seemed to belong to another era. Her name was Agatha, and she was well into her 80s, with a hunchback and a face full of deep wrinkles. Despite her frail appearance, there was something about her eyes and unsettling intensity that hinted at hidden depths. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to visit her one day. As I approached her house, the air seemed to grow colder, and an eerie silence enveloped the surroundings. I knocked on her door, and after a moment, it creaked open. Agatha stood there, her piercing gaze fixed on me. Without a word, she gestured for me to come in. The interior of her house was cluttered with old furniture and strange artifacts. The air was thick with the scent of herbs, and something else I couldn't quite place. Agatha led me to a dimly lit room and motioned for me to sit. She spoke in a low, raspy voice, telling me that she had been expecting me. She claimed to possess powers that allowed her to see into the future and warned me that my visit would unleash something dark and dangerous. Skeptical yet intrigued, I listened as she recounted tales of her life. She had discovered her powers at a young age and had been ostracized by the villagers ever since. According to her, these powers were both a gift and a curse, attracting malevolent forces. She had spent her life trying to keep these forces at bay, but her strength was waning. As she spoke, I began to feel a strange sensation of creeping dread that seemed to seep into my bones. I tried to shake it off, but it only grew stronger. Agatha suddenly grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. She told me that I had a role to play in the events to come, and that I needed to be prepared. Over the next few days, strange occurrences began to plague the village. Livestock went missing, strange noises echoed through the night, and a sense of unease settled over everyone. I couldn't help but think of Agatha's warning. Determined to uncover the truth, I returned to her house. This time, Agatha was waiting for me with a solemn expression. She revealed that a dark entity had been drawn to the village by her powers, and that it fed on fear and despair. She explained that the only way to banish it was to confront it directly, but she was too weak to do so alone. She needed my help. Together, we ventured into the forest that bordered the village. The trees loomed overhead, their branches intertwined to form a dense canopy that blocked out the sunlight. As we delved deeper, the air grew colder, and the sense of dread intensified. Agatha led me to a clearing where a circle of stones marked the presence of the entity. Agatha began to chant in a language I didn't recognize, and the ground beneath us trembled. A dark, shadowy figure emerged from the center of the circle, its form constantly shifting and writhing. The entity's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and its presence exuded pure malice. Fear threatened to overwhelm me, but Agatha's voice kept me grounded. She instructed me to focus on the entity, and to remember that it thrived on fear. I took a deep breath and steeled myself. Together, we confronted the entity, channeling our combined strength. The battle was intense, a clash of wills and energies. The entity's power was overwhelming, but Agatha's guidance kept me focused. Slowly but surely, we began to weaken it. With a final, desperate surge of energy, we managed to banish the entity back to the darkness from which it came. Exhausted but relieved, we returned to the village. The sense of dread that had hung over it was lifted, and life slowly returned to normal. Agatha thanked me for my help and warned me that the forces of darkness were always lurking, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Weeks passed after our confrontation with the entity, and life in the village gradually returned to normal. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still amiss. Agatha's warning echoed in my mind, and I felt a persistent unease. One evening, I decided to visit Agatha once more to ensure she was safe. As I approached her house, I noticed the door was ajar. Pushing it open, I found the interior dark and eerily silent. I called out her name, but there was no response. I ventured deeper into the house, my steps cautious and deliberate. In the dimly lit room where she had first spoken to me, I found Agatha lying on the floor. Her breathing was shallow, and she looked even more frail than before. She opened her eyes and whispered that the battle had taken a toll on her, and her time was running out. She handed me an old, leather-bound book, filled with her notes and incantations. Agatha explained that the book contained knowledge of her powers, and how to protect against the dark forces that were drawn to them. She urged me to take it and use it wisely, for the entity we had banished was not the only one of its kind. There were others, waiting for a chance to break through the veil. With her final breath, Agatha made me promise to continue her work to protect the village and ensure that her legacy endured. I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes as I held her hand. Agatha passed away peacefully, her mission now entrusted to me. As I left her house, the weight of responsibility settled upon my shoulders. I knew that I had to honor Agatha's memory and safeguard the village from the darkness that lurked just beyond our world. Armed with her knowledge and my newfound determination, I vowed to continue the fight against the malevolent forces that threatened our existence. And so, the story of the mysterious old woman and her supernatural powers came to an end. But my journey had just begun. With Agatha's book in hand, I set out to protect the village, knowing that the battle against darkness would be ongoing. The legacy of Agatha, the old woman with extraordinary powers, would live on through me. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more chilling tales. Stay tuned for more experiences from the darkest corners of the world.